guys, this week I'll be talking about the resignation of the leaders, Ed Miliband, Nigel Farage and Nick Clegg, the leaders of UKIP, Labour and the Liberal Democrats. Obviously, I was sad that Ed Miliband resigned because I liked him, and I think that when he gave his resignation speech he looked quite relieved, because I think obviously the pressures of public office had been obviously weighing on him, and I think he does seem like quite a genuinely nice person, and people make fun of him because of the way he speaks or the way he looks, but obviously that's not his fault, and I don't think you can judge someone depending on that. But when he walked into the room to give his speech, he was like One Direction walked in, there were so many cheers from the party. And Nigel Farage resigned, but obviously he's come back again, which I'm annoyed about, because I thought, because UKIP only had one seat in Parliament and because Nigel Farage had left, I thought that UKIP might just kind of fizzle out the party. But now he's back, I think they're going to either put in action their long-term plan for the 2020 elections to attempt to dominate the votes, or they're just going to fade out. Hopefully the latter, because I'm not too keen on the party. But I think lots of people voted for UKIP not because some people, obviously some people, they didn't even agree with the manifesto. They just thought, nice smiley guy who can balance a pint on his head, vote for him, it'll be great. So now that he's back, I feel like they might get more votes again. And Nick Clegg resigned. I'm not overly upset about that, because I don't really care that much about him. It sounds mean, but he's a bit insignificant, and I think they lost so many seats. They only had 8 because of the coalition they have with the Conservatives, and yet the Conservatives win that coalition and they got more votes. And like Nick Clegg resigned, he took full responsibility for it, and so then there'll be a new election to see who will get in to be the leader of the party. And I think David Cameron must be feeling very smug about all this. Got rid of 3 of the opposing leaders, so it's great for him. And that brings me to another point about David Cameron, where I see why I think last week people were saying that I was sort of slagging off people who voted for UKIP or Conservative, but I'm not. Like, I see why people would vote for them. Like, Conservative, if like the things in their manifesto which they say, and the things David Cameron said when he stood outside 10 Downing Street to give his speech, I think if they kept to what they said, it would be okay. Like, I agree with some of the things they say, and I think if they did everything they said, like majority Britain, like a fair country for everyone who's willing to work, that's fine. But the thing is, they don't keep to everything they say, and most of the things they say are false, and then they come in once they're in power, they do completely opposite things. And so then obviously what David Cameron's been doing has started straight away, all the terrible things such as 12 billion welfare cuts, so that's great. 0-hour contracts are going to have a massive jump from 400,000 to 1.8 million, and for anyone who doesn't know what a 0-hour contract is, it's basically where workers are put on contracts where they have no job security and they don't have a certain amount of hours to work by, so they can be exploited, and it's more like a part-time job, and they don't know like when they're going to get the job, when they're going to get the pay. So obviously there's not enough pay for most people, and those people are forced to live on benefits because their work money isn't enough for them. Food banks to see a shocking rise in number, obviously due to the increase in poverty. Our Conservative Party donors handed 15 million tax cuts, so that's to all the rich people, so they won't be having to pay as much tax, whereas we will probably be having to pay more. NHS is going to receive the largest ever privatisation, so that means that it'll be hard to see your GP, be hard to get seen in a hospital, might not be able to get the operations that you need, or you might just have to pay for them. So going to be cuts to public spending, such as the fire stations and the police and schools, and firefighters say that savage budget cuts could put lives in danger. And Michael Gove to proceed with Tories' plans to scrap Human Rights Act. So that means that the European Human Rights Act will no longer have leverage in the Supreme UK courts. So obviously that's not a problem, it only affects you if you're human and you want your rights. And I think what they said outside number 10 Downing Street, when David Cameron said it's it will be a fair country for everyone who's willing to work is like, it might be true, but I think there's sort of a hidden message there for disabled people, because I think disabled people can't work, so then won't be a fair country for them, especially since the savage cuts on the disability benefits. Apparently, because of disability benefits, 60 people died who needn't have because of those cuts. And nothing. If they did work for a fair country, then I'd vote for them. I'd think it was fair, but obviously they don't, and then it's just an unequal and an unfair country where the poorest people are exploited. And especially since I think it affects some people vote for them because they think it will affect the worse off people, and these people might not be as worse off, and they think it won't affect me, but it affects everyone. It affects people due to whether they get seen in hospital, like obviously the Human Rights Act. Most of all, it does affect the rich people, and it affects them for the better, because like the tax breaks for millionaires, this was a little while ago, by the Conservatives, ensure that they are 107 grand richer each year, whereas the poorest people, the worst off people, are getting higher and higher taxes, and the budget of the government is being balanced on their backs. So as the rich people are getting richer, everyone else is just getting poorer. So obviously the rich people are going to vote for them, they're going to support the Conservatives because it's in their best interest. But that's all I have to say for this week, so bye.